Welcome to r/Silver Cro y Azula. I'm Silver Crow, your curious guide, and I'm really looking forward to exploring some pretty fascinating and maybe surprising stuff with you today.
And I'm Azula Crow. I'm here to help connect the dots, maybe add some deeper insights.
Okay, so you sent us this truly massive stack of material, all dedicated to the craft of writing novels.
Yeah, we've really been digging into it.
And it's not just, dry theory. It's more like a mosaic,
Right?
right? Built from actual experiences, sometimes conflicting tips, surprising strategies from authors who've actually done it, made it from the blank page to the bookshelf.
Exactly. The hard won stuff.
So our mission today really is to give you a shortcut through all that. We want to distill the most actionable advice, for the whole journey.
From before you even start typing.
Right, the mindset part. Then keeping going during the draft, which is tough,
Mm-hmm.
and finally dealing with the market realities, getting it out there.
And that framework's important because maybe the biggest takeaway, the meta lesson from all this material, it's that you should see writing rules as, well, strategies, not commandments set in stone.
Okay, strategies, not rules.
Yeah, they're basically guidelines.
Yeah.
They exist to help prevent really specific common mistakes that, newer writers often make.
So once you get why the rule exists, what mistake it's trying to prevent.
Precisely. Then you know when you can maybe bend it or even break it and still pull it off.
Okay, let's unpack that with some examples, because some big names break the rules all the time.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely. Take the classic, never start your novel with the character waking up. Super common advice.
Yeah, I heard that one.
Thomas Pynchon
Hmm.
starts novels exactly that way. Or Donna Tartt's The Secret History. Huge book.
Love that book.
It starts with this long prologue. The narrator's just reflecting on his feelings about past events. It's like clearing your throat for 5 pages, supposedly a massive no-no.
And yet it works incredibly well there. What about the big one? Show, don't tell.
The Sacred Cow. Cormac McCarthy, he violates it constantly. If he needs to cover ground quickly for pacing, he'll just summarize decades of a character's life. A few punchy paragraphs, done.
Because showing everything would take too long.
Exactly. His goal isn't always total immersion. Sometimes it's just efficient storytelling. And that freedom, it only comes when you really understand why showing is usually better, what objective it serves.
That sets things up perfectly. Because before you even worry about showing or telling, the sources are really clear. You have to ask the hard question first.
Which is,
Why are you doing this? Writing a novel is called a long, often lonely journey. Knowing your motivation, apparently, is the only thing that really gets you through the stress, the self-doubt, all of it.
it's that foundational check-in, isn't it? And speaking of foundations, one of the most surprising practice tips we found was this idea of literal copying.
Okay, this one sounded really bizarre to me at first. But the logic,
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense. The advice is literally copy text from writers you admire. Like physically type or write it out for maybe 20 minutes a day.
Yeah, the manual labor part is key.
Why? What's the thinking there?
2 main reasons came up. First, the physical act helps you feel the rhythm, the structure of their sentences,
Yeah.
how they use punctuation, cadence. You internalize it differently than just reading.
Okay.
But the second reason is maybe more psychological. It helps dethrone them from their pedestals, as one source put it.
Dethrone them.
Yeah, you realize they're just people making deliberate choices with words. You see the nuts and bolts. It sort of demystifies the genius aspect, makes it feel achievable.
That makes sense. Keeping it real.
Ah,
Which leads to the next big piece of advice. The big idea trap.
yes. Everyone's got one, right? That epic fantasy saga. The one destined for movies, theme parks.
Magna opus.
Yeah.
And the advice is put it on the shelf.
For now, yes. Write something else first. Something that feels more like practice. Find a genre you think you could, absolutely crush. Maybe a straightforward thriller, a cozy mystery.
Why? Why not jump into the dream project?
Because getting good at novel writing means finishing novels. Not just writing the first 4 chapters of 100 different amazing ideas. Finish something simpler first. Treat it like a training run. Build the muscles.
Finishing is the key skill, and that ties right into market research, doesn't it? Doing it before you start writing.
Oh, absolutely essential. The successful authors in the material, they hammered this point. Read the top 10, maybe 20 books in your specific genre first. Understand the conventions, the reader expectations, the unspoken formulas.
Because ignoring them can be fatal.
Totally. There was this one brutal story. Our author wrote a 93,000-word modern thriller using 14 different points of view.
Wow, 14 in a thriller that size, that sounds Exhausting.
It is. That structure might work in, say, high fantasy, a sprawling epic. But for a fast-paced modern thriller, readers expect maybe 3 POVs, 5 max.
So what happened?
The manuscript was basically called unsalvageable by an agent because it fundamentally misunderstood the genre's structural norms. That's years of work potentially down the drain. A huge lesson there. Genre expectation is structure.
Right. Okay, so let's shift gears. You've done the prep, you know your why, you've researched. Now you're actually writing, drafting. This is where it gets really interesting and where lots of people get stuck.
Yeah, perfectionism. It's the draft killer #1.
Which is why the main mantra seems to be this absolute no going backwards rule. You have to be relentless, just keep moving forward.
Your internal monologue has to be, I can fix that later. That comma, that clunky sentence, even that gaping plot hole. Fix it in editing.
Because stopping risks losing momentum completely. The source said it's like losing your footing and tumbling all the way to the very bottom.
Exactly. And there's another reason too, a craft reason. Every time you stop and meticulously polish a sentence in the first draft, you risk losing your authentic voice for that scene.
How so?
Your natural voice often comes out in that first fast rush, before your inner critic kicks in and tries to smooth everything out, sometimes into, well, stiffness. Speed preserves some of that raw energy.
That makes sense. Keep the flow going.
Yeah.
Which naturally brings us to the age-old debate. Pantsing versus plotting.
The eternal struggle. The source has actually laid out a helpful spectrum. From, the extreme plotter who outlines every single scene.
Down to the extreme pantser. The discovery writer starts with maybe just a character or a cool what if.
Right. And both have pitfalls. Plotters can risk basically having the whole story perfectly mapped out in their head, which sounds good, but
it kills the motivation to actually write it.
Exactly. If you already feel like it's done, why slog through the typing? But pantsers, well, they risk getting totally lost, writing thousands of words that don't go anywhere, or realizing way too late that a whole section just doesn't fit the story that eventually emerged.
So it's not about which is better, but what works for you.
That's the consensus, finding what suits your psychology, not just what seems easiest up front. One writer warned that choosing a method just because it looks like less initial work, well, that lack of discipline early on often means a much harder, messier editing process later. Self-awareness is key.
And tools can help maintain that flow, whichever style you lean towards.
Absolutely. Google Docs got a lot of praise, not just for autosave, but that timeline recovery, being able to jump back an hour when you realize you deleted something vital. Lifesaver.
And for focus.
Things like Cold Turkey Writer, software that literally locks you out of everything else until you hit your word count, can be a real game changer if you struggle with distraction.
Okay, so the new going backwards rule helps get words down. But how do you make sure those words are actually building something worthwhile? That brings us to the engine. Character, conflict, dialogue.
Right, and the sources were really strong on this. Character is key, even in the most high-concept fantasy or sci-fi. Giant space battles, intricate magic systems.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if the reader doesn't connect with the characters.
People connect with people, essentially.
Exactly, not just cool settings or, pretty words. And these characters, they need what one source called psychological acuity.
Psychological acuity. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
More than just having flaws.
Yeah, it's deeper. It means the character understands, or at least has a working theory about, how other characters see them, and crucially, what that perception means to them, to their goals, their identity.
So self-awareness, but also social awareness.
Precisely. A character who's completely oblivious to how they're perceived or doesn't care. They can become very frustrating for a reader very quickly.
And this ties into character arcs, right? The classic dynamic arc character changes from A to B was the standard for so long. But the flat arc is getting more accepted now.
Very much so. Think of a flat arc character not as someone who fails to grow, but as a catalyst. Their unchanging nature might force other characters around them to change, or they're the steady moral compass in a chaotic world.
Or it could be tragic.
Right. A character who refuses to learn, who doubles down on their flaws and spirals downwards. That's a flat arc, too. But the key, whether dynamic or flat, is that the character must be affected by the story's events. They can't just be passive wallpaper. Things happen to them, and it has an impact even if they don't fundamentally change who they are.
Okay, so we have these complex affected characters. Now they need to talk. And this is where we get that really provocative advice. There are no information exchanges in dialogue, only confrontations.
It's definitely a high bar to aim for. The core idea is that every line spoken should serve a character's intent, their desire, bumping up against an obstacle, even subtly.
So characters are always sort of attacking, defending, hiding things, giving orders. No simple sharing of facts.
That's the extreme version of the argument, yeah. The idea is that dialogue purely for dumping information tends to feel flat, predictable, boring. It should always be filtered through intent and conflict.
But wait, no information exchanges. That sounds almost impossible. How do you set anything up? Are we supposed to just obscure everything?
Not necessarily obscure, but embed the information within that conflict dynamic. There was a good counterpoint offered, information is obviously exchanged, but the drama should come from the impact of that information, not just the data itself.
Okay, like how?
The example given was a soldier rushing to a commander and just saying a code, 112 AF.
Just letters and numbers? Sounds like dry data.
Right. But if everyone knows 112 AF means catastrophic failure, the defenses are breached, maybe then the dialogue itself isn't hostile, it's just data. But the impact creates the confrontation, the commander's shock, the sudden frantic orders. That's the traumatic exchange. The information causes the conflict.
Ah, okay. The information triggers the confrontation rather than being the confrontation itself.
Exactly. And from this idea flow other tips. Make dialogue clash with a character's inner thoughts. Let social class or emotion influence word choice. Use unique speech decks carefully, avoiding cliché to make voices distinct.
Got it. Makes sense. So characters with intent, dialogue is confrontation. How does this scale up? What does it mean for the overall structure?
Well, the biggest structural weakness identified in unpublished manuscripts was this tendency to wrap things up too neatly, to resolve one problem completely before moving to the next.
Like checking boxes.
Yeah, and that kills tension. The source is stressed. You have to let conflicts pile up, let them simmer unresolved. The reader needs to get to a point where they're genuinely wondering, how on earth can the protagonist possibly get out of this mess?
Avoid that clean, predictable, setup, payoff, repeat cycle.
Right. You want more chaos, more like setup, obstacle, uh-oh, failure, now a dilemma, keep piling it on. Okay, now we get the big payoff. Cumulative tension.
And those big payoffs, they should land at specific points, the plot points.
Generally, yeah, around the 25%, 50%, 75% marks. But critically, these plot points shouldn't just be random big events. They need to blow the lid off the whole thing, as one source put it. Meaning, they should pay off existing plot threads that have been building, while simultaneously introducing new, escalating complications that spin out of that resolution. You can't just drop in a surprise boss battle at the 25% mark if it has zero connection to what came before. That feels cheap, unearned.
Everything needs to feel connected, cause and effect.
Exactly. Which brings us to world building and the iceberg principle.
Ah, the iceberg. Love this analogy.
Perfect for exposition, right. Too much upfront detail. The dreaded lore dump or name-splain just yanks the reader out of the story.
So you'd only show the tip.
Just the tip. But the key is you, the author, need to know what's beneath the water. The whole 90%. The history, the politics, the economy, all of it. If you know that hidden mass, the little details you do show will feel consistent, integrated, real.
Because they imply the larger structure underneath.
Precisely. It gives the visible tip credibility. The reader senses the depth, even if they don't see it all, and they get the satisfaction of figuring things out from context, putting two and two together rather than being lectured. Consistency builds that trust.
Okay, draft done. Conflicts piled up. Iceberg is solid. Now, editing. The second wave of mental warfare begins.
Yeah, this is often where the energy flags. Staring at, 80, 100,000 words of potentially flawed text is daunting.
So we found this really unconventional self-editing tip. First step, congratulate yourself. Take a real break. Step away.
Essential.
Then, when you come back, this is the weird part. You only highlight the bits you genuinely like. The best words, the killer sentences, the passages that really sing.
It's just the good stuff.
Yeah, slap all those highlighted bits onto a fresh document and work from that.
Huh. So the idea is...
It focuses you on your strengths, on what you love about your own voice. It makes revision feel less like hacking away at a giant failure and more like arranging these beautiful mosaic tiles you've already created. It's about positive reinforcement, maintaining momentum.
Interesting approach, but the sources immediately offered a counterpoint, didn't they?
They did. Another writer found this completely counterproductive. Why?
Because by isolating only the best bits, you risk losing the connective tissue, the overall flow, the narrative continuity. You might end up with a collection of brilliant but ultimately disjointed scenes. Style over substance, potentially.
So, high risk, high reward, maybe?
Could be. Depends on the writer. For those who need more structure in their edit, the standard developmental editor's checklist is probably safer, asking those key questions.
Like, are the characters grounded? Do events make sense logically? Does this chapter ending make me need to turn the page? Is the dialogue sharp, authentic?
All those fundamentals, making sure the core story engine is working.
Okay, let's talk brass tacks, the business side. Because art is great, but many writers want to actually, make a living. We saw that incredible example. A self-published author detailing over $1.5 million generated in 3 years.
Yeah, staggering numbers. But it wasn't luck.
No magic wand. What did it take?
Immense self-discipline, first off, and consistency. This author talked about hitting 5,000 words a day, sometimes more, especially in high-volume commercial genres like romance, where readers have huge appetites. You need that velocity.
And you need to write what people want to buy, right? Marketability.
Absolutely crucial. This author was very clear. You have to cater to reader expectations in commercial fiction. They talked about romance readers wanting comfort, certain tropes or rules followed, a guaranteed emotional payoff. They might forgive imperfect prose if the book delivers on that core genre promise.
So understanding the reader is paramount.
And becoming a business owner, essentially. Even self-publishing requires real proficiency in areas beyond writing.
Like what?
Marketing, obviously, understanding ads, professional cover design, budgeting for it, even $150 to $300 for a simpler cover is an investment.
Right.
And building that author platform.
The platform, meaning the mailing list, social media presence.
Exactly, especially the mailing list. That's your direct line to readers, the asset you truly own, unlike social media followers. Success really depends on treating it like a small business. Clear goals, consistent output, understanding your customer.
It's a lot. So bringing this all together then, we started with that core contradiction. Rules versus strategies. Structure versus instinct.
And the best advice seems to always land somewhere in the middle, finding that dynamic balance between the two. It's not about choosing one over the other.
Yeah, and I loved that final thought about structure itself.
That structure isn't some tool you just pick up and apply.
Right. It's a symptom of your character's relationship with the story's central dramatic argument. The plot, the shape of the story, naturally arises from that internal struggle.
It follows the force of the character's journey.
So, maybe the final thought for you, the listener, as you move forward with your own writing. Take this question with you. What is the single driving dramatic question at the heart of your story? And how does your main character's relentless struggle with that question shape every single beat, every conflict, every explosive plot point?
Get that central struggle right.
And the whole structure might just fall into place around it.